In this video, I'm going to show you what an opinion looks like that's published in a West Reporter. I don't have many print reporters to choose from at the Indio branch of the Law Library. The only ones I can show you are the two official California reporters and the one West reporter. So I'm going to start by showing you the different parts of the opinion as published in the West Reporter that we do have. And then in the next video, I'm going to show you the same case as published in the official reporter. You'll notice it's pretty small print right now and you can't really read it, but I've done that on purpose. I want you to see the big picture first. So I'm showing you just page by page real quickly, and then we'll go back and we'll go through each page and look at the different components of the case as published in the California Reporter. This case is 10 pages long, which makes it a relatively short case. Here on the first page, you can see it starts with information about the parties and the court, and then it begins the value-added material that West adds to the case, starting with the word background and going through the rest of this page and then on to the next one. Now, the important thing to remember is because this is added by the West editors, it's not something you would ever cite or quote from or cite to. But it can be very helpful in doing your research because it's a summary and it provides you the research tools that you need to use the case effectively, but don't ever quote from this part. Now let me move on to the second page, and you can see those little paragraphs that began on the previous page continue, and then finally we get to the beginning of the original material. That's where it provides you with the names of the attorneys. Then beginning with the name of the justice, Werdegar, is the actual opinion. This is telling you that Justice Werdegar wrote it. And so here the case continues, and I'm just going to quickly page through the rest of it. Until we get to the end. And when you see the little key icon, that's a West trademark, you know you've reached the end. So now let's back up. And let me make this much larger so you can actually see the parts I'm talking about. Now up at the top you have the name of the reporter along with the volume number. So it's volume 126, California Reporter, 3rd series. Over on the left you see the page number of this page, page 98. And on the right you'll see a citation to the official reporter, but more about those in a moment. So let me just jump ahead for a moment to page 2, and you'll see that the page number is now on the right, just because one page is on the left side and one page is on the right. Now back to the first page. The first thing over in the left-hand column are the parallel citations. They're called parallel because this same case is published in 2 other reporters. You may recognize these abbreviations: the Pacific Reporter 3rd series and the California Reports 4th series. So the same exact case is published in volume 253, Pacific 3rd, beginning on page 266. But it's also published in volume 51, Cal Reports 4th series, 1164, beginning on page 1164. Then we have the names of the parties, and one of the things you'll notice is that this is actually 2 different cases: Shallant versus Girardi and Castro versus Shallant. They were consolidated, probably because they deal with the same issue. That happens sometime. In fact, if you go look at the famous case Roe versus Wade about abortion, you'll discover that it was 2 separate cases, and nobody ever remembers the name of the second case because you only refer to it by its first case, by the first case name. Now below their names is the docket number in the Supreme Court. So it's docket number S182629. It's telling you that it is the Supreme Court of California that decided this case and that you're looking at, and that it was decided on June 23rd, 2011. Now, where it says background, this is what librarians call either the synopsis, the syllabus, or the summary. I've seen it called all three things in different textbooks. I used to let my students call it whatever they wanted, and on the tests I would accept any one of those three as the answer. I tend to use either syllabus or summary, and we have the holding. And that paragraph is the holding, but the real holding is up here at the beginning of the next column where it says affirmed. So that means the Supreme Court is affirming a lower court decision. The next line says opinion, volume 107, Cal Reporter 3rd Series, page 419 is superseded. California has what to me seem like some really strange laws or really strange rules about what happens to a lower court's decision when it's been accepted and replaced by the California Supreme Court, and I'll go into that in another video. Now these next paragraphs, you can see how they're numbered, and they're pretty short. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in this case. Some cases have 30, 40, 50 of these. Some have one. I actually saw a case once that didn't have any. It was very short. These are called headnotes. And these are part of what make the West research system very valuable. This is how you efficiently find cases on a given legal point. And I will explain these in more detail in another video. But for now, let's just look at the 4 parts of a headnote. First, there's the headnote number. So right here you can see the first two, headnote 1 and headnote 2. They start with their number. The next thing is the name of a topic. In this case, for both of these headnotes, it's a topic called costs, C-O-S-T-S, hard to say. The third one's topic is injunction. And then after the little symbol that looks like a key, the West trademark, you'll see one or more numbers. So for the first headnote, it's key number 105 and 137. For the second headnote, it's key number 105. For the third headnote, it's key number 1735. Now, the best thing to do when thinking about key numbers is to always include the topic. So rather than saying, oh, it was key number 105, say it was key number costs 105, or it was key number injunction 1735, because each of these topics has a lot of key numbers. So many topics have the key number 105. So if you separate the number from the topic, you might forget where to look. You might not look in the right topic. Now the final part of the headnote is the little paragraph that follows. And this actually has a name among librarians. It's called an abstract. Now after the headnotes, I'll get past all 8 of these headnotes. See, there's the 8th one, and it ends up here. We have the lawyers, and it's interesting to me that the last one are lawyers for the Los Angeles Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, that they found this case important enough to file an amicus curiae brief on behalf of the defendants and respondents in the cases. But in order to find out what that's all about, I would have to go read the lower court case, because from my brief skimming of this case, it doesn't really tell you what it's about that has to do with animals. And then we begin with the opinion itself. Now, one thing I want to point out are these strange little upside down T's. They look like a platform with a pole. And right here you'll see one that says 1178. And to make this make more sense, to be easier to explain, I'm going to go find the next one, which is am I missing it? Here, well, I missed one somewhere, but here's one over here on the left. Well, the strange looking symbol with the number 1170. This is what's called star paging, and then in the old days they actually used to use an asterisk. Now what this is referring to, remember that 1170, if we go back up to the top and we see up here on the left the official reporter, this is telling you exactly where page 1170 in the Cal Reports volume starts. Now you're thinking, why do I care? Well, you might be in a court where you're required to cite to the official reporter. And you're not using the official reporter, so how are you supposed to know which page your quote came from? So you'll see that suppose you were citing or you were quoting this paragraph over here on the right, you don't know whether that's still on page 1169 or is it on page 1170 unless you know about this star paging. So that's telling you that right there is where page 1170 started. So when you quote this paragraph over here, it's page 1170. And if we keep going, we'll see where page 1171 begins. There it is on the left. So anything that starts after that star page until the next one is page 1171. So that makes it possible to obey the court's rules that you cite to the official reporter without actually having the official reporter. Now let's back up, and you're probably wondering, what are these little what are these numbers in brackets? There's the first one. You see the 1 with the bracket on the left. And if we go on down, we'll see a number 2 in a bracket over here on the right. Well, these are referring back to the headnotes. So let's say you've read the headnotes, or you've skimmed through them, and you've been able to determine that the issue that you're interested in is abstracted here under headnote number 3. And you've looked at all the other headnotes, and this is the only one that interests you. There might be others in real life, but I'm saying for our purposes, only number 3 is of interest to you. Well, what you can do then is skim through the case until you find the bracket. So there's 3. And here's 4. Now sometimes you'll see 2 paragraphs, 2 headnotes combined in one bracket. So starting right here is where the court is discussing the points of law that are summarized in headnotes 4 and 5. And that would continue until we get to the next bracketed number 6. So if you're in a hurry and you're just trying to make your initial run through on cases, say you've got 10 cases sitting here that you need to take a look at and determine which ones are important to you for use in your research, you could look here and go, oh, okay, that's exactly what I'm looking for, this kind of discussion. Or you might go, no, that's not what I'm looking for, and you could set that case aside. If you look at it and you think, yes, that's what I'm looking for, then you know that you want to keep this case and look at it more closely later. So as we go through the case then, we see that there's more star numbers throughout, and we have bracketed numbers till we get to 8. So there's star page 1176 and the bracket for headnote number 8 together. And then finally we get to the end of the case, and it tells you that the judgment is affirmed, and then it tells you the name of all the other justices who participated and who concurred in both the holding and the reasoning of this judge, of this justice. If there were any concurring opinions or dissenting opinions, they would be next. They would be right here at the end. So that's what a case looks like in a West Reporter. And you're probably thinking, well, what do they look like in other West Reporters? They all look alike. West has a format, and this is what they look like, how they're constructed. No matter which West Reporter you look in, they will all look basically like this. I say basically because over the decades, they make refinements. They, improve the way it looks. But you can go back to a case from the 1930s, and it's still going to look essentially just like this in a West Reporter. Now, in the next video, I'm going to show you the same case in the official reporter. There's a lot less to it, so it'll go a lot faster.